And good morning. Welcome to the Cornbread Man Morning Show, where the voice is not great, but we will endeavor to persevere. And it is Hump Day. Happy Hump Day 2026 during this day of January 21st. January 21st, we got the coffee. It is that crazy weather we have, so the voice is fair. Fair this morning. We're trying to get through. We got cold weather on the way. We may have, all indications are, of a winter storm. To what degree, we don't know. We have heard as much as 30 inches of snow may fall in the northern regions above us, not that far away. 30 inches of snow. Can you imagine? In my general area, they are calling for about 3 to 6 inches plus ice. So they would be in that would not be uh, ice coming after illegals that we know of, although that could be. But the falling of ice of half inch to an inch, followed by 3 to 6 inches of snow. Can you imagine that? We just never see that. It's very, very rare for our region to see that. But snow totals in Knoxville, in the areas around the Smokies and Knoxville and all that, could possibly 30 inches of snow. That's crazy. Anyway, happy morning show, Cornbread Man Morning Show. I'm Dave in the AM with a bad voice this morning, but we will get through. Let's talk about this morning. Let's talk about our verse of the day. Here is our verse of the day. Revelations 21:7. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. A good start to the day with the word of God. We're appreciative of the word in our life and what it means for us. And let's give somebody a word today. And so there you go. I'll leave that up for a second. That's a nice picture. I like that. I had the opportunity one time to sleep on top of a historical area on a mountain in the region. And we stayed on a Saturday night. So on early Sunday morning, I went to church that morning. But early in the morning, we woke up, sleeping on the ground as we did portraying soldiers back in the day. And it was a beautiful morning looking out over something that was very similar to that picture, although I was looking over a river and a city and mountain ranges to all points in the distance with a warm cup of coffee looking out over the city. It was a special moment. I just stood there and I praised God for his glory, his creation and all things. And it was just something about being on the mountain. It's so we sing about that. You talk about going up. There's just something about being on a mountain. We hike mountains. We like to ascend mountains. People want to be on top of Mount Everest. Why? I don't know, but there is an accomplishment there. But the death to go through that, to be someone who could absolutely die, and there are many who have, man just has to prove he can do it. Mankind, I'm meaning, not just men, women do as well. But I don't want to do that. But the mountain ranges we have in the general region are beautiful, and we have so many good things to be appreciative of. And we think about the curse that the land is under from the results of sin, and one day the curse will be lifted and a restoration occurred. How much more beautiful will it be? It's amazing. But we're thankful this morning for all of that and this warm cup of coffee. I am drinking a Colombian blend of, yes, the Wolf Nation coffees. And I like that. Sometimes I go into coffee places and they'll say, What do you have? And all these people are ordering special blends. They've got all kinds of things that they want in it, different types of coffees or whatever. And I just say, give me a good Colombian black. And I have been into places and they will say, well, we don't really have a Colombia here. We have Arabia or whatever we have. And I'll just say, listen, just give me a black coffee. It really doesn't matter. I just know that I like those blends. But they'll say that they'll start naming coffees off, and I'll be like, I just want a black coffee. Pardon me. Get the voice loosened up this morning. We'll be okay. It is a cold day this morning. It's going to be colder as well. We have in the forecast a night that we're supposed to get down to 6 degrees. But yeah, it's extreme coming up this weekend. Good morning, Watchman. It is going to be extreme for our area, and it looks like it's that top that comes out of Texas, and it just drills us, unfortunately. And we've got some morning, some morning temperatures that should be okay, and will help melt that off. It shouldn't hang around. Obviously, shady areas and places that are up on mountains and stuff will take a little longer, but the event will be bad. It's supposed to happen sometime beginning Friday night in all the way into Sunday evening for our area. The models, they keep changing. At first, this thing was just maybe, and now they believe it is a certain to happen, instance where we're going to have a snow ice event. Not happy about that. Not happy about that at all. But God says it's going to happen. We'll just have to let it happen. Really enjoyed our interview last night. Miss Jessica Power and Jessica Power Racing. What a blessing that they were, and we appreciate them. And they will be back anytime that we ask them to do it. What a blessing that is. And we're going to keep up her season. She is the 25 champion. And so we have a nice connection there, and I'm looking forward to hearing how the racing is up in her area for the season when they finally get started around mid-April. I very fascinated by her husband's talk about the cost of being in Canada versus the U.S. and the cost of going back and forth and how much more it costs them. We appreciate their sponsors who definitely, some of them watch the show. And, we're happy if they got in. Want to make sure their name got in. And they have quite a few sponsors, and we appreciate that. The merch item, I'm going to order one of her shirts. She has a really good-looking shirt. I think I've took it down well, maybe not. Let me see if I can pull this one back up and share screen. This is a good-looking shirt. And, it ain't every day you talk to Champion. So there you go. Good looking shirt. I like the hoodie. And there's the shirt. She's the 2025 World Short Track Champion and Sportsman of the Year. How about that? Excuse me. So, yes, that is a good looking shirt and a good looking hoodie. And I'm definitely wanting that. I think the hoodie is about $30 bucks. Not bad. I mean, the t-shirt. I'm sorry. I've paid more than that back in the day at concerts. I can tell you that for a t-shirt with a local band, and for a hoodie, that's not bad nowadays. They can run up to 65, 70 bucks, but give them a look-see. That is primaltshop.com, primaltshop.com. And hey, so Savannah LaFleur also has a very nice looking shirt and hoodie and everything. So we'll give them a shout out too. And they have a nice hat. And Boggin, she's done some reductions here, so there you go. So we'll give them a little wave this morning. We appreciate them, and we'll have to get Savannah on too. Savannah LaFleur. I like the name. I always liked the name Savannah. I always thought that was a good looking name. It just has that flair. Savannah. I always liked that. There's a few names that I've always just liked. When me and my wife were having children, we had our son, and if we didn't care. We just were happy if God gave us another child. But obviously, my wife was, I would like to have a little girl, and we had picked out names for that, and it was never hard. These people that go through all this, we just don't know what name to use. It's hard, battling over names. We were never like that. With our sons, it was. My wife was just happy to have a child, and we went through a quick conversation about names we would like, and it was just nothing to it. She loves the names. For a girl, which we never got to select, I know Nicole was one of the names that we had picked out. Nicole was, we had another name we liked, but there was somebody in the family already called that. And so we said, well, let's not do that. But Nicole, I think, was a winner between both of us that we liked that. So anyway, I don't know why my screen is went to the other. It shouldn't do that. We should have the burning fire. We got to have that back. Yeah. It's a cold morning. I want to tell you what, I went out this morning early and got the car good and warmed up for the kiddos to go to school and myself. And I was watching all the early morning delivery drivers dropping off their deliveries at the local supermarket. And I was thinking, man, it's a cold morning for them, having to get in the back of that truck and get out, especially if it was refrigerated. I've done a little bit of that unloading of refrigerated trucks, and it is not fun. It is not fun. National Day today. National Day. We always talk about that. We'll pull this up on screen maybe here. Let me see here. Stop screen, and let's give you the look of that this morning. The National Day. If you can see this, it might be a little small. There you go. That was actually, hold on, that was yesterday. That was yesterday. I picked the wrong one here. Hang on. Let's get this one. This is the proper one right here. Didn't realize I did that. Here is the proper one today. I believe that is correct now. And there we go. Our got acid day, hyaluronic acid. Ironic, excuse me. Granola bar day. I can get in behind that. I like a good granola bar. I like that. Squirrel appreciation day. I didn't know that we had to appreciate squirrels, but thankful for God's creation. Thank you for the squirrels. Sometimes we're not thankful for what they do, but they are hopefully have stored up for the winter. And I don't know. This one may be a little controversial nowadays. National Hugging Day. People might not appreciate a good hug, as much as others. So, but people may not like that you give them a hug. Some people say, I'm not a hugger. My wife and me, we've always been huggers, especially my wife. My wife will say, I'm a hugger. I've got to have a hug. And, she didn't really come from a family that did that. And that was a big change for her. I mean, they were very loving people. They just didn't hug. And we, of course, church and all. My wife learned that she loved to hug. And, we say that often, come give me a hug. Some people ain't like that, a little more standoffish. Now, we know it's a proper hug. It's not the wrong kind. But we give the right hand of fellowship in church and hug necks. We certainly do. And squirrels cost me $10,000 for roof repairs, Watchman says. I don't think that he was appreciating squirrels that day. They can do some damage. They absolutely can do some damage. So, yeah. I don't know why we need a Squirrel Appreciation Day. That's kind of weird to me, but I guess it's okay. I mean, I don't know. Maybe maybe they just like looking at them climbing up and down the trees, gathering the nuts and all that stuff. I mean, I would not want one for a pet. That's for sure. I don't think you should. I've known people that's done that. It's very dangerous, but a Squirrel Appreciation Day. I just what does it say about that? Sometimes they give you a little indication of what that's about. There's the big old squirrel. It recognizes a critter some consider a pest. That would be Watchmen on that day. And others see as just fascinating. The creator, Christy Hargrove, is a wildlife rehabilitator in North Carolina and is affiliated with the Western North Carolina Nature Center. According to Christy, celebration of the event itself is up to the individual or group. Anything from putting out extra food for the squirrels to learning something new about the species. According to the Integrated Taxonomic Information System of North America, I didn't even know there was such a thing. Over 200 species exist in the world. Some of the oldest squirrels categorized on the list include the nocturnal arrow flying squirrel. I definitely don't want to be around a flying squirrel. Validated in 1766. And the black giant, validated in 1778. Of all these species, they fall into three types. Ground squirrels, such as the 13-line ground squirrel. The rock squirrel. Does they go to rock shows? California ground squirrel, and many other blanket the prairies and deserts of North America, often causing damage. There you go, Watchmen. Often causing damage. They often earn the name of pest, and they are labeled rodents. Predators enjoy them as a tasty food. That's all part of the nature of things. You know how it is. As a result, they work together to protect themselves. Their only protection is to flee. Tree squirrels make their homes in the trees. However, they also find their nesting materials and food on the ground and above, making their home in cities and the countryside in nations around the globe. These familiar backyard and park residents help themselves to your bird feeders. Yeah, you got to watch them on that. Or snag your snack right from your hands if they have become practiced enough. The third type of squirrel leaps farther than the others with flaps of skin between the legs, which is freaky to me. Flying squirrels glide greater distances, giving the impression they can fly. When they jump from tree to tree or building to building, they spread their legs wide and float on the breeze, escaping predators or perhaps other snarky tree squirrels with a nut to pick. Oh, so yeah, you can. I didn't know that people set up squirrel feeders. I didn't realize that. Okay, and then they give you some things to do about that. Interesting this morning. Interesting. Squirrel Appreciation Day. Rats with bushy tails. Yeah, I just don't care for that type of thing. Never put out food for squirrels that draws them to your house, and they will ruin your roof, Eves. Yes. I don't want them. We don't have a tree in our front yard anymore, so we don't see them as much, which is a good thing. Yeah, we used to though. We used to hunt squirrels with 22 and sell them to old man Tom Powell for 50 cents a piece. Yeah, oh my God. Well, hey, that's a capitalist system. You were making, you found a way to make a profit. And you don't want. I would say you want to thin out. You want to thin out how many squirrels are around. So a nice little investment there, keeping the herd, as we say. That's not a herd. Keeping it thinned out and making a little profit. 22 shells or bullets wouldn't be that expensive. And old man Tom Powell. My goodness. Well, I guess you think about it. You're paying 50 cents a piece. I mean, there's not a lot of meat on a squirrel, but there's enough there. If you got a couple for a buck, I'd say that'd make pretty good a little for a single person. Old Tom. Yeah, the nest. Yeah. But anyway, there's your National Appreciation Day. I think I'll stick with the granola bar. I think of all that, I'll just stick with the granola bar for National Day. I'm going to appreciate the squirrels. I mean, not the granola bar. You know, I get. Some people find that pretty. I sat with some people out in West Branson, Missouri. West Branson, Missouri. I sat in their home. They had a beautiful home, and in their kitchen had the glass doors and everything to the backyard, and we'd sit there, and it was right by the kitchen. So they had bird feeders behind. They had a little concrete deck there, not a deck, but a platform or whatever, and they had their grill and all that there, and it was a beautiful area. I mean, it was a beautiful. It was a gated community, but it didn't feel gated in a lot of ways because the houses were really spread out. They weren't right on up each other, but it was they had security at the front because there is crime in the area. So, excuse me. So we sit there and watch birds, and hello, Scuffy and Z. Good morning to you. They had bird feeders out there, and we watched all these birds come in. They were actually a member of the Audubon Society, and they had identified birds that were not native to the state that it came in and had gotten listed. They were really into this, and I never thought of myself as a bird watcher. But I think in my later years, I think, I could get into that, like watching the different birds come in, putting out the feed for them. But the squirrels were, they had tried every kind. And so they had a big squirrel problem. And so they would stand guard, put the feet out, and that's what they would do early in the morning. They were older, unless they were going to town and going to church or something. They would sit there, have their morning breakfast, watch the birds, make sure the feed was all good. They had kind of got it down to a science of how to keep the squirrels out. But squirrels they're industrious. They figure out how to get around it. But they made it as difficult as they could. But it was beautiful. The birds were coming in all different colors, red birds, the cardinals and stuff, and whatever was native to Missouri. Bluebirds. I saw some bluebirds. It was beautiful. It was a very relaxing thing, and I could see how people could get into that. And they didn't hate the squirrels. They just didn't want the squirrels getting into their feed for the birds. So this was the '80s. 50 cents would buy you two Cokes or two games of Donkey Kong, or one Coke and one game of Donkey Kong. It's funny, right? How we could remember all that. And it reminds me of when my parents said what they could do with a nickel or a quarter or something like that. But I was saying, was it yesterday? You could go up and for a buck or 50 cents or a buck. Usually we'd try to get together $1. There was a store that was there was actually a couple, but one's a little further away, and I wasn't really allowed to walk there. But there was one store we could walk up to, and me and my friends would walk up there, especially I can think of these summer days. It was great. You'd walk up, you'd tell your mom, "Hey, I'm gonna walk up the store." Sometimes mom would want something, and you do some things around the community or something, earn a little money, whatever it was. We'd go up and we'd buy the Coke. We'd buy a bag of candy. This the little paper sack bag. We'd have all kinds of candy in there, and we'd buy a comic book or two, and we'd come back and drink the Coke and eat the candy and share the comic books. Like we'd read one, got this, and you didn't really own. Everybody owned the comic books. It was like it wasn't like it's mine. We shared. So you'd end up with, we'd read one, then you'd trade one, and sometimes we'd read them all in one sitting. Sometimes we'd just trade out as we saw each other. And I can remember, so was it Sergeant Rock or something like that? That was one of them. I was always big into Spider Man, so and Batman and stuff. We'd buy the Marvel, top comic books, and there was probably a couple of more, but I remember a lot of them like that. And those are great memories. I mean, they are, and I know it. People hate it when they're younger. They think it sounds like we're talking back in the turn of the. By the way, I was going down the road last night to take a couple of the kiddos to a basketball game at the high school, and it was on my radio was on satellite radio, and it was on the '80s at 8. I might have changed it to that. I flip around the dial. I do different shows, and anyway, it was Brian Adams. Brian Adams. The Run to You, Brian Adams, the Run to You, and it was up a little bit. My granddaughter likes to give me a hard time, and she said, "Oh, is that your little music?" She said, "What was that? Turn of the century, 1900s, or something like that." I just turned around and looked at her. Truly though, when you think about '80s, that song, I don't remember what year in the '80s it came out. I want to say 85, 86, somewhere in there. Anyway, and how that song is 40 years old, or right at 40 years old. And to them, I was thinking it does seem really old, but to me, it's just like I like some Brian Adams. I thought it was good. Didn't like everything he did, but I like a lot of songs. I was just sitting there thinking about that. How to me that just seems like I don't know 20 years ago or something, but it's actually double that. And I was like, wow. But she likes to give me a hard time. She'll say, "Golly, is that what y'all used to listen to?" Like they have any good music today. It just kills me. Uh, in the morning, I'd go to the corner store and buy a big bag of candy, gum, snacks, and sell them at school. Made good money selling and bootleg tapes at school. See, you were always thinking ahead, man. You were that guy that was had that capitalist spirit, making money. Yeah. You found a way to make money. I appreciate that. Hey, Kenneth Roper, I bet it is cold and snowy where you're at. My gosh, we got the storm coming. Kenneth's a good guy. I got to get him back on. He's probably out on a cold, snowy, icy morning trying to get the truck warmed up, get out there in it, whatever. But good morning to you, man. Is that you still in Virginia? I'm trying to remember. God bless you this morning, man. You know, my voice is not the best, but the show must go on. If we waited until we felt good about every little thing, we would never get a show in. You just move on. I knew last night, I was trying to get through last night's interview. I told Dean, I said, my voice is going to be a wreck tomorrow because I just know. And I was able to get through it, and it'll be good in a day or two. It'll take a couple of days for it to get kind of back. Right around the time the snow comes in. I'm going to tell you what, if I get snowed in, if I have power, I'll be doing marathon live shows because what else is there to do? We'll get caught up. Hey, this week, Paul Biscuit Boy is going to be out of town. He's going to Nashville for a big latte da. I'm just saying they do. They get dressed up. I mean, the tux and all on one of the days and stuff. And he's supposed to get a check in with, and it's a big to do. I'm not poking at it. I think it's great, but you get to dress up and hobnob with millionaires and stuff. So that's pretty cool. So tomorrow night we don't do the Cornbread Nation show or the Cornbread Nation show without him. So those will hold for a week, and we'll get him in the next week. But I'm gonna fill the time with some other shows that we haven't been able to do. Get caught up a little bit myself, and when he gets back, we're going to try to team up with Amy Petula, who contacted me yesterday. I need to get back with her today. She was asking me about a story. She had noticed we did a story on someone sometime back, and she's trying to work on research for her next book in the area. So shout out to her and Chattanooga Ghost Tours. Also, Southern Shadows. If you're in the area, please. I know I've still got to do it. Southern Shadows. Go visit them in the Chickamauga area, and I'm going to visit them too. And I need to get by there. Matter of fact, today would be a good day, maybe on the way home, to go see them. I'd like to get one of her books and support the small business. So yeah, they don't even know what real music is nowadays. It's all loops, samples, drum machines, or AI garbage with auto-tune rap or someone caterwauling over it. I know, right? And she's sitting here poking fun at me. And a good oldie song, call it oldie, I don't care. It's classic. "Run to You" by Bryan Adams. He also used Mutt Lange, and he did a lot of good music back in the day. And he's kind of gotten back out there. His last album wasn't bad from what I heard of it. But I thought, I can't believe you're calling me. This music like ancient, But I guess because my parents' music, I find I like a lot of it. My mom grew up in the 50s as a teenager. I like a lot of 50s music, So I don't know. Good morning, brother Daryl. How are you doing? How do you do? I like a lot of the 50s music. So I never thought of that of my parents as like ancient. But the kids today, they're just like, golly. And I always get it. There's a little bit. You think yours is more for it. But that was just a moment last night. She's like, golly, is that your music? Little music from the turn of the century, like early 1900s. She was showing out a little bit too in front of one of the friends that we take to school and stuff. And, I was looking at her like, don't even go there. Oh, I don't care for it, but it's a great song. The production holds up today. Yeah, if you either are or was not, I did like some Bryan Adams. Some people, would, say, well, that's just pop or whatever, or popish. It was very polished, yeah, definitely. And Mutt Lange does polish work like that. But he did, Cuts Like a Knife. That was another one that stands out. He was an accomplished photographer. I know that. And, he did some music that I didn't really, he started getting a little, I don't know what you'd call it. I call it, leftist trendy or something. He really went down that road, and he fell off the face of the map. I hate it when an artist leaves their base. Leftist. I guess he was trying to take in new audiences and whatever. But I just felt like he really, went down the hill. I mean, it was bad. Stay with your base. Don't leave what you know. There were a lot of kids in the 70s, 80s music. They are, and some of the bands talk about how they see, the people they grew up with in the audiences, obviously, who was their fans back in the 80s, but now they see their kids or even grandkids standing in the audience. I'll tell you what, one of the things I think has helped that is the use of music in certain games and stuff, and advertising, people placing those games, even if they're loops and samples, they kind of connect to that music and they've heard it. There's a famous little video. I say it's famous for our area. There was a delay in a high school football game here in the area. It's been 3 or 4 years ago. I want to say it was Ridgeland, Daryl. You're in the area. I think it was Ridgeland. And they had a delay in the game. I can't remember why they were delayed. And while they were waiting, they were playing music, and they played, something back in the day, 80s, I'm sure, or 70s even. It might have been 70s. I can't remember. But one of the cheerleaders was out there, kind of singing to it and dancing and everything. And they people were saying, "Job well done, parents." Like she even knows the song, like she's into the song. I can't remember who it was now. I want to say it was Eagles or Boston, or I don't remember. It might have been Boston or Bad Company. I can't remember. But she knew the song. She was over there going, "Ooh, it's old music." She got into it. I never went left. I always naturally have went from center to farther right by the day. I've never voted for Democrat. I can say that. Excuse me. Yeah, we were always conservative. You do have in our area the Blue Dog Democrats back in the day, the Working Man's Party. Well, they're far from that. But we were always, I always really called myself independent. I've never been a member of the Republican Party, but I have voted Republican a lot over the years, some independents. I just always, I didn't, for when I grew up, my dad, party was never, I just cannot remember my dad ever pumping party. My dad just knew who was good for us. We talked about conservatism. We talked about, I don't remember my dad being overly political, so we didn't really have political discussion. But I definitely knew that he absolutely had candidates that he was locked onto, and he knew what was right. My dad was he didn't shoot no bull. It was straight down the line. So if he liked, we would be walking up to the voting area, and these people would be trying to give him pins. If they were the wrong candidate, my dad would be like, "No." He didn't take the goodies. He knew he was laser focused. And I've never went to vote and go, "Golly, I don't know who to vote for." I always did my own research, and I still do. And nobody had to tell me. I see a lot of uneducated voters. They just don't do the research. And it's so easy nowadays. You can do Ballotpedia or iVoter Guide or something like that. And they will tell you liberal and conservative and what their stand on, and you can do a breakdown on each candidate. I hated I missed last night. Miss Jenna, God bless her for the 14th running. She let me know there was a candidate meet and greet down in Lafayette, some would say. Pardon me. And we were doing the live with Miss Jessica Power, and I just couldn't make it. But I thank her so much for letting me know that. Good morning, James. How you doing, buddy? But yeah, you're right, Watchman. A good song is a good song no matter the style or era. I agree with that. Good morning, James. 70s is all my daughters listened to growing up. They even know the hard rock. They always talk about how good our music growing up was. Yeah. My kids, they will tell you they're if you were looking at what their what they were saying was good, or their song mix is what I was looking. If a song mix, it's always going to have 70s and 80s. Now, my kids also like a lot of country. Um, One is more classic country. My other son, he likes that, but he's more outlaw country, the more rockin' stuff. They're very different in that way. But what's the one in the area? It's the classic country. They always have the little sayings. It's 99 something, isn't it, or whatever. My son loves that. He'll listen to that, but he listens to Def Leppard and just different groups like that. He knows what he likes. So I'm glad you're good, man. Keep the faith, man. I was a delegate for Ron Paul in 2012. I've seen the underbelly of the Republican Party. It ain't pretty. They cheat and will not follow their own rules or Robert's Rules of Order. I in the I'm trying to the 90s. Was it the 90s or 2000s? This might have been the 2000s, right after we crossed up. Anyway, I was sickened by the Republican Party. Absolutely. Bunch of liars, bunch, bunch of they weren't even good people. Yeah, 99.3. They actually call that two. They used to 99.3 and something else. I knew my man would know. But they have those little sayings they say, like I know little catchphrases and stuff, and they're kind of funny. But they're playing that good old stuff. I mean, George Jones and Conway Twitty or something like that. Um, in fact, Conway Twitty was my oldest son's favorite country artist for a long. He loved Conway Twitty stuff. He just gets tickled by some of the songs, but he likes that. Um, but I like a lot. I was looking through the albums yesterday that we have, and I'm gonna be doing during the music show, and I may do that. I may do the music show tonight because I need to get it in anyway. But I was looking through my wife's dad, and I never met him. He died before we met. He was a big, big, big classic, what we call country fan. That's all he listened to, really. Coffee, country, and truck driving. That was his life, basically, and his kids. But we apparently he had a pretty good collection. When someone dies, you always have people that swoop in and they want to just fleece you of anything that has any value. Well, they have some family, which will remain nameless right now on the air, who swooped in apparently, and they had taken a lot of the collection to a flea market or something. But they went and found out about it. They went and got some of them back, not all of them, but a lot of them, and nobody was really. They were just kind of stacked somewhere. So I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna just take these and put them up for you. I want to make because a lot of their stuff, all these tools were gone. You know how it is. You got to watch these vultures, man. When somebody dies, they're just the scum, the underbelly of the earth. They will come in. They act like they care about you. And the whole time they're just looking around, pulling drawers open to see what they can look at. And they're scum. They're absolute scum. And so, anyway, all that stuff was gone. I don't know if there was any guns involved, but I know the tools were gone. And the wife and all the kids were girls, and they just fleeced them. I mean, they're just scum. But the albums, I said, there were still some of the vultures kind of flying around when we first met. And I said, I'm going to put these up for you. And they've been sitting. I mean, we've just had them stored. And he always had his name, JB, to go by on the album. And I was looking at some of those yesterday because I was pulling out some for the show. And I'll bring some of them down to the studio. But I remember one of them stood out was Loretta Lynn. I was one of the albums that was in that. And we'll look and see. These are, this is something back in our day we get a kick out of, the album, And now it's coming back around a little bit. You have the album day and all that at McKay's Books in our area or around the country, not just there. And a lot of the artists are putting things out on album again. They always make, the Blu-ray and all the, the different colors. I mean, it's all trendy, collectible stuff. But at least they're doing it. I think that's cool. Watchman says, been listening to some Billy Joe Shaver, very underrated. Yeah, that's a name that really jumped out a lot. We were blessed in our area to have a lot of what I would call singer-songwriters. in the area, and so it was very popular. A lot of the places, would have them come out and play. Dalton Roberts, Commissioner Dalton Roberts of Chattanooga was a very good, accomplished singer player. He sung with a lot of people around, you know. But yeah, Billy Joe Shaver was one of those. James Rogers was one that really stands out from our area, and there's a couple of others. But I like the idea. I grew up as yeah, vinyl is superior audio. Yes, I grew up at a time where I called it the piano bar, piano man music, or whatever. All and really, if you go back, even if you go back and you look at ACDC, the Young Brothers, which I like a lot of things about them. I don't like some things, but that brain trust, they always had one rule about their music: it had to be able to be keyed out on, chorded out on the piano. If they couldn't do that, then they would not use that music. So even they were doing that. The blues guitar and all that. But I just think about all the singer songwriters, whether it's guitar or playing a piano. And I grew up with Elton John and just so many different artists that were playing on the piano, and so I like that. I've done funerals where family actually got physical over the deceased belongings before we ever got to cemetery. My gosh, so sad the way people have such greed. It is it's disgusting, and that is the seedy side of this. The sin nature of man, the total depravity of man, and I just so frustrates me. I have told my sons. We had this conversation a long time ago. I took them to lunch. They were now young men, and I told them if I sit down and had a serious talk with, because I had seen this with my wife's family and some other people, and I sat down with my sons and I said, listen, this is something I want to burn into your brain right now. If dad fades, I die first here in this thing. You guys have got to stand up. You got to you got to grieve. I get that, however you can grieve, but you got to stand up and protect your mama. You have got to be there. These are things. I gave them some things, and they're on board. I mean, they understand. They've seen that too. I said, it's not like we have, we don't have the Fort Knox, but do not let family come in. Always know they're flying in. Recognize them for who they are, and put them on the road. Heck with them. You can come in and pay your respects, and then you can leave. But if you see that activity where they're trying to buddy up and look at what they can get, uh, just go. The comedians have talked about that, but people are at the funeral home, and they're talking about about the truck the guy had or gun collection or whatever, and it's all about how can I get a hold of that and how can I get it for basically nothing. It's sad. Your family might be you might be a redneck if your family gets in a fist fight over granny's iron skillets on the way to the cemetery. There's a lot I could say. I would just say that I have seen people before the body has ever left the house. This is inside the inner family. Before they ever left the house, they're pulling out collections of stuff and assuming that it's theirs. Grandkids, even like that. Really? Granddad or grandma's laying in the bed. The funeral home's not even removed the person yet. And you're pulling the collection out? Come on. I mean, that was the first time I went, I can't believe what I'm seeing. But a lot of people have a really, they're narcissistic. They're not driven by, they don't have a love for anybody. Narcissists can't love anybody but themselves. It's all fake to them. It's fake words. It's all about what can I get? It's all about me, for them themselves, not me personally, but they're, what can I get out of this? How can I come out ahead? I know what they got. It's mine. Crazy, I told my sons, listen, I don't want you fighting over stuff. We had we had this conversation. One of my sons is very mechanical. I said, I told the other son, I said, give him a small. I don't have a lot of tools, but I have some. Give him, my other son, the oldest, give him, this. See, he's really not going to use them, but you get the tools. They're yours. Your mama's not going to use them. I just don't want to see go out on the the driveway with the the 10-cent sale or whatever. Take the tools because you'll use them and appreciate them. There's a Bible for each of them, because they would want one. Those are keepsakes. You take one, you take one, your mama gets one. I mean, I don't. It's sad that you have to do that, but I mean, not that they would fight, but I wanted all that spelled out. And Daryl, that's from doing funerals. It absolutely, it's sickened me. I did a funeral for a very her see it was a lady I had known. She went to our church, and long story short, who she wanted to do the funeral was not available, and she always loved me. And she said, "Could you do it?" Brother so and so couldn't do it, and I would just love for you to do it. And one other person had deceased, who was actually her pastor, and his family came though. And I did this funeral down in Chatsworth for this person, and they were it was her brother, and he had lived in Michigan for a long time. He was a vet, but he would travel all over the country. I remember he got saved at like 70 or 75 years old. Amazing. And he lived for quite a while. And he would go to the VA, he would go back and visit family. But he'd go to church. I mean, he served the Lord. And when he died, she asked me if I would do that. Well, and she told me, she said his family, his immediate family, not me, they didn't want a funeral service. They just wanted to, they was a handful, drove down from Michigan. They just wanted it to be, cleared out. And this lady, she worked hard. I mean, it was hard. I mean, I know it was hard for her to get everything together. Nobody helped her. And so anyway, we did the service. Let me tell you, I preached her down that day. I was thankful for my wife and for her being there, and for the pastor who passed. His wife and daughter came. That was my amen corner. That was it. There was only a handful of people there, and there's a lot of people in the area didn't know him because he lived up in Michigan, and all of his family were there, and they arms crossed kind of people. I'm going to tell you what. The more they amen, the harder I preached, and it was a lot of oppression in the room because we did in the chapel there. Anyway, one member of their family came up to me after the service, and she was very cordial, although distant. But she said, "Listen, we do appreciate what you did. We're no matter what anybody says, I want you to know that." And I told them I never take, I don't ask for anything to do weddings or funerals or not. But they gave me a donation, which I told them, I said, you don't have to do that. I don't care. I'm doing this to honor, him and his sister. And she said, I appreciate it. We would feel good if you would take it. Because I figured they were going to sell everything anyway. Just dump it all. It's like, get it now, because once the vultures get a hold of it, there's not going to be nothing left. And it's really sad. When my father-in-law passed, he was still in the bed dead when we got some of his nephews and nieces were counting out his change. They took his cash card. They had to run him off. Sick, man. Sick. But it happens, and you got to be ready for that. You definitely got to be ready for that. So we did that. The birthdays today, I didn't do that. There's a couple birthdays I wanted to point out. Today is Thomas Stonewall Jackson's birthday. Yes, Stonewall. What a great, fascinating person, Stonewall Jackson. And it was somebody else. Let's see here. Happy birthday to him. Gina Davis. I like some of her movies. Gina Davis, birthday today, 69 years old. Wow. I think I had one more I wanted to point out of all the birthdays. Hakeem Olajuwon. Remember him back in the day? What a player. 62. God, I feel old. And Billy Ocean, singer, 75 years old today. If it's your birthday today, God bless you. Happy birthday. And enjoy your day. On this day in 1976, the Concorde made its first flight. It could travel at 1,350 miles per hour. They don't even have the Concorde anymore, but they used to. Yes, Jackson County next door to me is named after him. He's a fascinating character. I've read stories about his life, several actually. One thing that stands about, a couple things I want to say. about him. One is that he for all of his bravery and everything. He didn't have a faith at one time. Like he went up to when he went to Mexico and fought in that war, the U.S. against Mexico, which a lot of people don't even remember that. 1846, I think, is when that started. Uh, anyway, while he was in Mexico, he visited a lot of churches. He wanted a faith. He just didn't have a faith. And before he came home, he had faith in Christ. And anyway, he would never fight on the Sabbath. So if he was forced into a battle, he would always pretend it was a different day. He would write orders like it was the day before, the day after. He just didn't believe in that. He was a prayer warrior. But in his church, uh, there was one time the preacher called on him to pray, and apparently it was pretty choppy. You know, he was so nervous. He just was so bad at it. If you've ever called on somebody in church to do something and you felt bad about it instantaneously, I understand what this must have been like, because somebody can get so nervous they just lock up. And apparently he did it, but it was very bad, so bad that his pastor came to him afterwards and said, Mr. Jackson, I apologize for calling on you to pray, and I promise I won't do that again. And he said, don't you dare. He said, how am I ever going to get better at doing it if you quit calling on me? And so it is said by the time that he passed, in the war, he was an accomplished someone who he could call on with confidence to pray, and it be a meaningful prayer for the congregation. And he would walk around the woods with his arms held up. He had some strange beliefs, everybody does, I guess, to a degree. Something about blood flow back into his body, but he'd walk around the woods during the war with his eyes closed, hands up. Sometimes he'd run into trees. A lot of people thought he was a quirky kind of guy, very stubborn. He definitely had some parts that did not fit him well, but he was interesting. The first time I heard a Hellfire street preacher was in Jackson County Courthouse Square when I was a kid. Preacher down, yeah. You're going to hell. That gets your attention. Nowadays, okay, in Jefferson, the town also named after him, cool. You got, oh, by the way, I meant to bring it up earlier. To the loons that went into the church and caused a disruption, I got news for them. I don't know about this church here. I hate that happened to them. I can promise you this: if that loon and whoever else was with him, but that guy that did the video and come in there and disrupted the services and was attacking people, I can promise you this guy would have been drug out of my church and thrown off the front steps. I don't care what anybody says. That guy would not have been doing what he did in my church. I wouldn't have to worry about it. The men of my church would take care of him. But I promise you, if for some reason he got to me, he would have not enjoyed. His video would have been over. I'll just tell you that. You're not going to, my gosh, they were showing kids crying and scared and everything. No way. This guy would have been drug out of church, and then he'd have been trespassed off the property. He probably wouldn't even have went that far, because there would probably been some, we'll just say some weaponry that would have been showed. Don't ever come right here again. I mean, come on, you can't allow that. That's crazy. Oh, yeah. Jefferson Davis, I got you. Of the Confederate States, yeah. There, well, a lot of schools and stuff are named after them and stuff like that. But yeah, jackleg coming up in the church like that. No, just because, and him challenging them that and calling them these white Christians and all this. You think you're a Christian, you're not supporting your brothers, your Christian brothers, you white Christian. I mean, come on, dude, shut up. We just don't deal with that around. I don't know about them, but that went on way too long. I kept waiting for somebody to grab this guy up, and I'm like, what? What are you really? Come on. Well, Watchman, sometimes when I'm looking at comments, I'm just, I got three things in my brain. So sometimes you got to just spell it out, man. there's a lot going on sometimes in my head and just make keeping things rolling. But yeah, he would be dealt with if absolutely. I mean, who's going to allow that? We would give him the right hand of fellowship. We would lay hands on him. Got no problem with it. I don't. If no, you're good. We would we would make sure that because listen, there are threats. Threats come up into churches, and this guy's an idiot. And churches have security plans. They have people that are armed, and you're not going to know who they are. Sometimes the pulpit has weaponry in it. Yes, yes, because pastors are a target, and I can tell you that in many churches there is a weapon that is waiting for you if you want to try to kill the pastor. He has at his disposal weapons in the church. So you're an idiot for coming up in there. Yeah, and you just brought your little phone. You made your little video. You would have not enjoyed your trip inside of my church. I promise you that. You're not going to do that. I know he's probably the chances of somebody like that coming to my church are probably nil. But he went there because of Christy Noam. I get all that. And this is not me, trying to brag or anything like that. That's not who I am. It's not what I am. I'm just telling you, it made me mad. I wanted to go there and handle it for their church. That's how bad. That's how mad it made me. When I watched that video, I was thinking, man, I would go there and sit in the congregation and defend them. I mean, come on. Where's the men of the church? I saw one guy. There was a picture. And it was another podcaster last night on Rumble. Big Tony. I like Big Tony. And he was showing a video of the guy's comforting his son. Listen to me how that should have worked, young man. You let mama, who was right there, you let mama comfort the son. You get up and deal with the dude. Come on. Man up. I preached at this church with a bunch of bikers. He would have regretted coming in like that. Bet. Hey, listen, we're not going to put up with it. We're not going to put up with it. Men of the church are prepared. They're ready. We have a security plan. It is to stop all threats. You're not going to come in and attack our people. You're not going to come in and tear up our church. You're not going to do that. You do not have a right to come in and disrupt services and scream and shout and get in people's faces. It's not going to happen. That's not acting big or bragging or anything. That's just facts. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do that in the South. I'm telling you, you walk into many, many churches down here. I don't care what denomination, and you're going to be escorted out in a very rough way. And it's just not going to go good for you. You can try that, but it's not going to go good for you. But that angered me. I was so mad when I saw that. I was like, golly, boy, I can't believe that they just because it just went on and on and on. I thought, well, somebody shut this guy up. Absolute. Yes. Laying on the hands. I can't wait to get back to church and ask the men if they saw that video. It's like, did you see this? I can guarantee you, Stan, ex-military, he probably will say, David, I don't even want to talk about that. It made me so mad. I'm telling you, I know him. It's not going to happen. Daryl says, I was an Irwin pastor and the man got up to sing and thought it was a platform to promote his ideology. We had to physically remove him, yelling and screaming. Took me months to get over it. I got in the flesh very fast. I understand, man. I understand. Listen, there's that side of me that always says, hey, that's a soul. We want to win souls, and I get, yeah, absolutely we are. But on the other side, we're men. And we're going to, that part of us that, go into battle mentality, take care of a threat. And, sometimes, hey, listen, sometimes the mouth, or you think it, I pray about those things because I have it rolling around in my head, and it's all, you don't want to, the root of bitterness to spring up within you and all that. And you have to pray about it, and stay in the spirit. But listen, you know what? And that's where, you talk about protection of family and stuff like that. I mean, somebody, I was thinking about this last night. You make my kid cry, you're going to cry. That's the way I can put it. I mean, not going to do it. Just, I mean, that's just, we're not going to allow that to happen. I had a clown walk in while I was. Are you saying in a clown suit, dude? I was the only one seeing him in the back, but he sat in the back and was cool. Are you telling me, Watchman, that he was in a clown suit? Is that what you're telling me? A full-on clown? I can't stand clowns, man. That would bother me so bad. I don't even know what I would. A legit clown. He worked for the circus. Oh my gosh, I'd have to. I got to think about this one. I'll be thinking about that today. I absolutely don't know if I could keep preaching with a clown sitting there. Dude, I don't like clowns. I don't. I've never liked them. When I was a kid, I told my mom, "No, I ain't talking to no clown. Keep me away from them." I've always saw them as creepy. Just listen. I get it. If he was at the show and he came in, I just don't know, man. I'm not saying I would be a jerk. I'm saying it would really bother me. I don't know that I could keep a straight face. I guess for the cause of the gospel, I think I would cut a few points out of the sermon, though. It was shortened down a little bit. Let's pray, folks. One eye on the clown, one eye closed. Dude, I just don't even know. I don't. That would creep me out. Dude, I'm telling you, if I was somebody else was preaching, like I sit in the back a lot when I never got to. So sometimes I'll just sit in the back when somebody else is preaching, and I'm right by the door. And if somebody came in that door, oh, I bet it was. If somebody came in the door, and I looked and it was a clown, I know I would jump. I'm telling you, I don't like clowns. We got a lot of clowns these days. We got a lot of clowns. Uh, Good deal, man. Yeah, well, it's Hebrews, man. It's going to take a while to get through that. I know there's a church group meeting. They meet once a month. It's a men's group out of a certain church, and they meet at Caffeine Addicts. And I think they've been in Proverbs for 3 years because they only meet once a month. My dad was on the mountain preaching. He stopped preaching because of a disruption in the service. He put his Bible in the pulpit and told the man he was going to whip his tail in the name of the Lord. Salute. You better believe it. And now, folks, let me lay the Bible down. I'm going to whip somebody's tail in the name of the Lord. In the name of Jesus. I love that. You guys are awesome. We're not mamby-pamby little Christians down here in the Southeast. I'm going to tell you. It's the Bible belt, but we know how to apply the belt. Oh, yeah. Hey, we get heated with each other sometimes. I mean, it's just the way it is down here. I'll say this, and I got to go. It's 7. I really got to go. We were at a commissioners meeting in Ringo, Georgia, and they were a bunch of sissies up on the dais. So there was one brave lady. God bless her. She's probably deceased now. One of my friends, he got so bad he went to the restroom, and there was this guy in there, and this guy got up, and he was trying to say, Jesus would not be for us flying this flag or whatever. He went to the bathroom. My buddy was saying, he was like, "Oh," he said, "David was all I could do not to grab him up." He said he made me so mad, but anoint fist with oil right to the forehead. Absolutely. You know what? We're getting in times where the violence is definitely going to escalate, and Christians are going to be a target. And it's not going to play well for you, folks, in certain areas of the country. You better watch where you try that out. And we're not calling the police. We're gonna handle it. That's just the way it is. You can come pick up your boy on the side of the street, but he's out of here, and we're not gonna allow it. And that's a threat. It's a threat. First of all, this guy could have pulled a weapon. He could have pulled a weapon. You can't allow that to go on. You to the people of that church, I would say you left your people as a target. You cannot let that happen. And to that guy, you're stupid. You are stupid. You better get your heart right. Doing people like that, God's people, you'll answer for that, friend. You'll answer for that. Absolutely, you'll answer for that. You better get right. So you don't desecrate God's house like that. You don't do it. And call it. I mean, he trashed these people with his mouth. I'm not gonna put up with that. And that's you. You got to guard the flock. No way. No way. I'm not. There's no way I'd put up with that. Watchman says, and from the days of John the Baptist till now, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and violent take it by force. Matthew 11:12. Yeah, the church is a target. It continues to be a target, and it will escalate. Got to go, folks. Headed to work, and drop the kiddos off at school. Stay warm. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you this evening. Probably do a music show first. We'll probably get that in, and maybe something else. So you have a great day. I'm gonna be doing a tour, so I got to save the rest of my voice for the tour. I got some management trainees coming in. We're going to take a tour of the facility this afternoon. So hopefully I can get my voice all straightened out. Take care. God bless. We appreciate your support. Like, follow, share, and y'all and go back and watch the interview with the race car driver if you didn't see it. Not for me, for her. She is awesome. I really enjoyed the husband. Whether engaged. Let me get that correct. That's why we had fixed the name. But they'll be married soon. So we'll see you soon. Take care. All right.